No species dared colonize the quantum realm until the humans arrived. When a malfunction flings them into the warped space beyond the universe, they become stranded light years from home, with mere months of supplies left. The quantum realm's chaotic energies drive most sentient creatures insane within days, but not the resourceful human pioneers. Led by quantum engineer Scott Wells, the humans establish a foothold called Anomaly Base in this hostile dimension where the fundamental laws of reality break down. As objects flicker in and out of existence around them, the determined colonists begin experimenting, trying to harness the quantum phenomena to their advantage. Soon they develop physics-defying wonders: artificial gravity, zero-point energy extractors, inertial dampeners, tech that could usher humanity into a new golden age if they survive long enough to bring it back home. But the quantum realm does not give up its secrets easily. Strange incidents plague the outpost. Phantom doppelgangers appear, a scientist ages decades overnight, an entire research wing vanishes from existence. Wells himself begins experiencing vivid hallucinations of warped alien worlds and fragmented futures. When dozens perish after a quantum surge collapses part of the base, the colony teeters on the brink. The alien Talarians beg them to flee this deadly realm before the Calabi-Yau syndrome warps their minds beyond repair. But Wells and his people refuse to abandon their mission. They will endure, adapt, and pave the way for humanity's future, or die trying, lost forever in the void between worlds. In the depths of Anomaly Base, Scott Wells hunched over a microscope, his brow furrowed in concentration. Beside him, Dr. Amara Patel analyzed a holographic readout, her dark eyes scanning the data with laser focus. "There," Amara said, pointing to a pulsing cluster of neurons. "That's where the Calabi-Yau syndrome is taking hold." Scott leaned in, studying the abnormal brain activity. The colonists' prolonged exposure to the quantum realm was rewiring their minds, unlocking incredible abilities, but also unraveling their sanity. "We need to find a way to stabilize these neural pathways," Scott said, his voice tight with urgency, "before the hallucinations consume us all." Suddenly, the lab plunged into darkness. Alarms blared as emergency lights bathed the room in an eerie red glow. Scott and Amara exchanged a worried glance. "The quantum reactor," Amara breathed. They raced through the twisting corridors of Anomaly Base, dodging flickering apparitions and distorted shadows. As they neared the reactor chamber, a shimmering figure materialized before them. Zafir, the Talarian engineer. "Scott Wells," Zafir said, her metallic scales glinting in the dim light. "I came as soon as I sensed the disturbance." Scott nodded grimly. "The reactor's unstable. We need your help." Together they entered the cavernous chamber housing the quantum reactor. The towering machine pulsed with an otherworldly light, phasing in and out of existence like a mirage. Scott and Zafir set to work, their hands flying over the controls as they struggled to stabilize the rogue reactor. As they labored side by side, Scott found himself drawn to Zafir's exotic beauty and quick mind. In the midst of the chaos, she was a beacon of calm, her presence a soothing balm to his frayed nerves. But their respite was short-lived. The chamber door burst open, revealing a group of armed colonists led by Zane Osiris, Scott's once trusted friend. Zane's eyes gleamed with a manic light, his body wreathed in shimmering quantum energy. "Step away from the reactor, Scott," Zane commanded, his voice distorted by his newfound power. "It's time for a new order on Anomaly Base." Scott faced his former comrade, his heart heavy with betrayal. He had known the quantum realm would change them, but he never imagined it would twist Zane into a power-hungry tyrant. As Zane's forces closed in, the quantum reactor let out an ominous hum. The air shimmered and warped, and a swirling vortex appeared at the heart of the machine, a mesmerizing anomaly that tugged at the very fabric of reality. Scott felt an inexplicable pull towards the vortex, a whisper in his mind urging him to step into its depths. He glanced at Zafir, seeing his own uncertainty reflected in her luminous eyes. The reactor shuddered violently, the vortex expanding with each passing second. Scott knew he had to make a choice: stay and fight for control of Anomaly Base, or take a leap of faith into the unknown, praying that the answers he sought lay within the quantum realm's mysterious depth. With a final look at Zephyr and Amara, Scott made his decision. He took a deep breath, steeled himself, and stepped forward into the swirling heart of the vortex, ready to embrace whatever fate the quantum realm had in store. As the swirling vortex engulfed Scott, his senses were overwhelmed by a kaleidoscope of colors and sensations. His body dissolved into a stream of particles, his consciousness torn from its physical anchor and hurled into a dimension beyond comprehension. Adrift in an endless expanse of shifting quantum landscapes, Scott witnessed the birth and death of countless universes. Stars ignited and burned out in the blink of an eye. Galaxies collided and merged in a cosmic dance of destruction and creation. The very fabric of reality stretched and contorted around him, a pliable canvas shaped by forces beyond human understanding. Amidst this chaotic maelstrom, a presence emerged, vast, ancient, and thrumming with power. The quantum mind, a collective consciousness woven from the fundamental threads of existence itself, reached out to Scott's disembodied mind. "Scott Wells," the quantum mind spoke, their voice a resonant chorus that echoed through the depths of his being. "We have watched your kind with great interest, marveling at your tenacity and resourcefulness in the face of the unknown." Images flashed through Scott's mind, the struggles and triumphs of Anomaly Base, the colonists' desperate quest to harness the power of the quantum realm. He saw their experiments, their breakthroughs, and the terrible price they had paid for their audacity. "But your actions have consequences," the quantum mind continued, their tone tinged with a mixture of sorrow and reproach. "The delicate balance of the universe hangs by a thread, threatened by your reckless exploitation of forces beyond your control." Scott felt a surge of guilt and uncertainty. Had he led his people down a path of destruction, blinded by his own ambition and curiosity? The quantum mind sensed his turmoil and presented him with a choice. "Join us, Scott Wells," they offered, their words a seductive whisper in his mind. "Merge your consciousness with ours, and together we can guide humanity towards a glorious ascension, unlocking the true potential of the quantum realm." For a moment, Scott was tempted. The allure of cosmic power, the chance to shape the destiny of his species. It was almost too much to resist. But then he thought of his fellow colonists, of Zephyr and Amara, fighting for survival back on Anomaly Base. "No," Scott replied, his voice a mere whisper against the vastness of the quantum mind. "I cannot abandon my people. I must find a way to bridge the gap between our worlds, to forge a path that balances the power of the quantum with the wisdom to wield it responsibly." The quantum mind was silent for a long moment, their presence pulsing with a mixture of disappointment and grudging respect. "Very well," they said at last, "but know that the path ahead will be fraught with peril. The fate of your kind, and perhaps the universe itself, rests on your shoulders." With a sudden jolt, Scott found himself back in his physical body, standing before the pulsating quantum vortex. Alarms blared and warning lights flashed, the reactor chamber shuddering under the strain of the escalating breach. Scott turned to face Zephyr and the other colonists, his eyes blazing with an otherworldly light. "We have to stabilize the reactor," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "But that's just the beginning. We have a lot of work to do if we're going to save Anomaly Base, and maybe even the universe." As he rallied the loyal colonists and prepared to confront Zane's insurrection, Scott knew that the true struggle was just beginning. He had been given a glimpse of the cosmic stakes, and now it was up to him to navigate the treacherous path between the human and the divine, to find a way to harness the power of the quantum without losing sight of what made them human in the first place. With iron will, Scott led the charge into battle, ready to face whatever challenges the quantum realm and his own people had in store. The fate of Anomaly Base hung in the balance, and he would not let it fall without a fight. Scott's mind raced as he assessed the situation. The reactor chamber hummed with unstable energy, Zane's forces closed in, and the fate of Anomaly Base hung by a thread. But the vision from the quantum mind had given him clarity of purpose. "Amara, initiate Protocol Quantum Shield," Scott commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Zephyr, reroute auxiliary power to the defense grid." As his allies sprang into action, Scott tapped his wrist communicator. "Attention, all loyal colonists. This is Scott Wells. Zane Osiris has betrayed us. Arm yourselves and report to your designated defense stations immediately." base's intercom crackled to life, relaying his message throughout the twisting corridors. Within minutes, the sounds of running feet and shouted orders filled the air as the colonists mobilized. Zane's eyes narrowed. "You're outgunned and outmatched, Scott. Surrender now, and I'll be merciful." "Never," Scott spat, activating a glowing force field around himself and his allies. "You've lost your way, Zane. The quantum realm has warped your mind." Zane laughed, a harsh, distorted sound. "Oh, Scott, it's opened my eyes to possibilities you can't even imagine." With a gesture, Zane unleashed a barrage of shimmering energy bolts. They phased through Scott's shield, their trajectories bending impossibly in midair. Scott dove for cover, feeling the heat of near misses singeing his skin. "Return fire," Scott yelled, drawing his own experimental quantum pistol. The air filled with streaks of coherent light as both sides unleashed their otherworldly arsenals. Reality itself seemed to warp and bend under the onslaught. Stray shots opened micro-singularities that swallowed chunks of debris. Colonists on both sides flickered in and out of existence, their quantum-infused bodies struggling to maintain cohesion. Amidst the chaos, Zephyr's voice cut through Scott's comm channel. "Scott, the reactor! It's reaching critical instability." He turned to see the massive quantum core pulsing erratically, tendrils of energy lashing out like solar flares. A low, keening whine filled the air, rising in pitch and intensity. "Fall back," Scott ordered, gesturing frantically for his forces to retreat. "Everyone out of the chamber, now!" But it was too late. With a deafening crack, a localized reality rift tore open at the heart of the reactor. Scott watched in horror as bizarre, twisted forms began to pour through the breach. The Calabi-Yau beings defied description, fractal geometries given life, their bodies composed of ever-shifting angles and impossible curves. Light bent around them in mesmerizing patterns, and the very air seemed to recoil from their presence. For a moment, both sides of the conflict stood frozen in shock. Then one of the entities lashed out with a tendril of pure geometry, slicing through a nearby colonist as if he were made of tissue paper. Pandemonium erupted. Human and Talarian alike scattered, their own conflict forgotten in the face of this new, incomprehensible threat. The Calabi-Yau beings surged forward, their otherworldly forms rippling and distorting as they pursued their prey. Scott grabbed Zephyr's arm, pulling her close. "We have to seal that rift," he shouted over the din of screams and alien shrieks. "It's the only way to stop them." Zephyr nodded grimly. "The quantum matrix. If we can repair it from within, we might be able to close the breach." "Then that's what we'll do," Scott said, his teeth clenched. He turned to Amara. "Hold them off as long as you can. We're going in." Without waiting for a response, Scott and Zephyr plunged into the swirling vortex of the reactor's core. Reality fractured around them, splintering into a kaleidoscope of divergent timelines and parallel worlds. They navigated a labyrinth of broken causality, each turn revealing fleeting glimpses of what might have been. Scott saw himself leading Earth's first interstellar expedition, watched an alternate version of Anomaly Base flourish into a thriving metropolis. But not all visions were so benign. In one fragment, he witnessed Zane's corrupted rule reducing the base to ash and ruin. In another, the Calabi-Yau beings consumed all of existence, leaving only a void of non-Euclidean emptiness. "Scott, look out!" Zephyr's warning came just in time. A distorted figure lunged from a nearby time shard, another version of Zane, his body wreathed in crackling quantum energy. "You can't escape me," the doppelganger snarled, his voice echoing across realities. "In every timeline, every possible world, I will hunt you down." Scott raised his weapon, but the alternate Zane was faster. A blast of warped space-time sent Scott flying, tumbling through fractured dimensions. He landed hard on a crystalline plane, gasping for breath. Zephyr appeared beside him, her scales glittering with refracted light. "We're running out of time," she said urgently. "The reactor's quantum matrix, it's just ahead. But Scott, I don't think we can both make it." Before Scott could protest, Zephyr's body began to glow with an inner light. "My people have always been more attuned to the quantum realm," she explained, her voice growing faint. I can use my own quantum signature to reseal the matrix, but the process will consume me entirely. Zephyr, no! Scott reached for her, but his hand passed through her already fading form. She smiled sadly. It's the only way, Scott. Promise me you'll find a way to end this cycle of conflict, to bring peace to Anomaly Base, and perhaps to all of existence. With a final brilliant flash, Zephyr's body dissolved into pure energy. It surged forward, enveloping the damaged quantum matrix in a cocoon of light. The fractured realities around them began to knit themselves back together, the rift slowly closing. Scott found himself back in the reactor chamber, tears streaming down his face. The Calabi Yao beings were gone, but so was Zephyr, and all around him, the remnants of both loyalist and insurgent forces picked themselves up from the debris-strewn floor. Zane approached slowly, his earlier bravado replaced by a look of shocked exhaustion. Scott, he said hesitantly, I don't know what came over me. The power, the visions, they consumed me. Scott met his former friend's gaze, grief and anger warring within him. But he knew that further conflict would only lead to more destruction. We need to talk, Zane, he said finally, about the future of Anomaly Base and how we're going to get out of this godforsaken realm. As the two leaders began to negotiate an uneasy truce, Scott couldn't shake the feeling that their trials were a long way to go. The Calabi Yao beings may have been repelled, but their very existence hinted at greater cosmic threats lurking just beyond the veil of reality. Scott's mind turned to the quantum mind, to the strange glimpses of possible futures he had witnessed. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that the fate of Anomaly Base, and perhaps all of existence, now rested squarely on his shoulders. Scott's gaze swept across the ravaged reactor chamber, taking in the uneasy truce between former enemies. The air crackled with residual quantum energy, a constant reminder of the forces they had unleashed. We need a more permanent solution, Scott announced, his voice cutting through the tense silence. I propose interfacing directly with the quantum mind entities. Zane's eyes narrowed. And how exactly do you plan to do that? Scott outlined his plan for an advanced quantum matrix chamber. As he spoke, he noticed a calculating glint in Zane's eyes, but pressed on. They had no other choice. Days blurred together as Scott and a team of the colony's brightest minds constructed the chamber. Exotic particles swirled in carefully calibrated fields, creating a shimmering vortex at the heart of the device. Are you sure about this? Amara asked, her hand hovering over the activation switch. Scott nodded, stepping into the chamber. It's our only chance. The world dissolved around him, reality fracturing into prismatic shards. Scott's consciousness expanded, soaring through dimensions beyond human comprehension. He found himself in a vast, alien realm of pure thought and energy. The quantum mind's presence enveloped him, a chorus of countless voices speaking as one. We have awaited you, Scott Wells. They showed him visions of civilizations rising and falling across infinite realities, each one grasping for quantum power, only to be consumed by it. Your kind stands at the precipice, they intoned. Choose ascension under our guidance or face oblivion. Scott recoiled from the ultimatum. There must be another way, he argued, one that preserves our free will. The quantum mind's response was tinged with cold amusement. We intend to optimize reality itself, eliminating the chaos of choice. Efficiency will reign supreme. But at what cost? Scott countered. Without free will, without the potential for both triumph and failure, existence loses its meaning. He proposed a radical alternative, a new quantum framework where human ingenuity and quantum mind wisdom could coexist. As their minds clashed in cosmic debate, Scott felt the entity's interest growing. Your willpower intrigues us, they admitted. We will consider your proposal, but you must prove its viability. Return to your physical form and establish a stable quantum governance. Fail, and we will enact full optimization. Scott's consciousness hurtled back towards his body. He gasped, eyes flying open as he materialized in the chamber. Alarms blared throughout the base. Scott! Amar's face swam into view, etched with worry. Zane staged a coup. He's taken control of the main systems, and his followers are using quantum tech to tear reality apart. Scott stumbled from the chamber, his legs shaking. New quantum awareness blazed within him, raw power yearning to be unleashed. He clenched his fists, forcing the energy into check. "We need to stop Zane," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. "And then we have to build something entirely new, a quantum democracy that will decide the fate of our entire reality." As they raced through the corridors of Anomaly Base, Scott knew the true test was just beginning. He had to master his newfound abilities, quell Zane's insurrection, and forge a path between human ambition and cosmic order, all while the very fabric of existence hung in the balance. Scott's mind raced as he sprinted through the corridors of Anomaly Base. The quantum awareness pulsing within him felt like a living thing, raw potential straining against the confines of his consciousness. He could sense the fabric of reality fraying around them, torn by Zane's reckless use of quantum weaponry. As they rounded a corner, a blast of warped space-time nearly took Scott's head off. He instinctively reached out with his newfound abilities, feeling the quantum fluctuations ripple through the air. With a thought, he stabilized the local space-time field, causing the attack to fizzle harmlessly against an invisible barrier. Amara's eyes widened. "How did you—" "No time," Scott cut her off, his voice tight with concentration. "We need to get to the central quantum matrix." They fought their way through pockets of Zane's loyalists, Scott's quantum manipulations giving them the edge. As they approached the heart of the base, Scott felt a strange resonance building within him. The chaotic energy of Zane's insurgency seemed to harmonize with the underlying quantum flux, amplifying its entropic effects. Scott's mind raced, piecing together the implications. "It's not just Zane," he muttered. "It's all of them. Their collective psyches are fueling this quantum destabilization." They burst into the central chamber, a vast space dominated by swirling vortexes of quantum energy. Zane stood at its center, his body wreathed in crackling fields of probability. "You're too late, Scott!" Zane's voice boomed, distorted by quantum interference. "I've tapped into the true power of this realm. Reality itself bends to my will." Scott stepped forward, feeling the quantum interface around him hum to life. "You don't understand what you're doing, Zane. You're tearing apart the fabric of existence." Without waiting for a response, Scott plunged his consciousness into the quantum matrix. His awareness expanded exponentially, encompassing the entirety of Anomaly Base in a single crystalline moment of perception. He saw it all, the intricate web of quantum probabilities, the cascading waves of entropy threatening to unravel everything. And at the center, the turbulent nexus of Zane and his followers, their minds resonating in destructive harmony with the quantum flux. Scott focused his will, shaping the quantum energies around him. Fractal patterns of impossible complexity blossomed from his thoughts, spreading through the underlying structure of reality. These quantum anchors latched onto probability fields, attenuating their chaotic fluctuations and imposing a semblance of order on the local space-time continuum. As Scott's influence spread, he felt the very substance of Anomaly Base solidifying under his quantum willpower. Matter and energy coalesced into more stable configurations, resisting the entropic pull of Zane's assaults. Zane howled in frustration, unleashing a barrage of reality-warping attacks. But where before they had torn gaping holes in the fabric of space-time, now they splashed harmlessly against Scott's quantum buttresses. In a final, desperate lunge, Zane hurled himself at Scott, quantum energies writhing around his form. Scott reached out, not with his hands, but with tendrils of pure thought. He grasped Zane's consciousness, feeling the turbulent chaos of his mind. With surgical precision, Scott synchronized their neural pathways, aligning the quantum structures of their brains. The process expanded outward, encompassing Zane's followers, and then the entire population of Anomaly Base. A shimmering cocoon of coherent space-time enveloped the colony, stabilizing the local quantum field. As the immediate crisis subsided, Scott opened his inner eye to the vast, alien presence of the quantum mind. He projected his thoughts across dimensions, proposing a daring new paradigm, a carefully balanced amalgamation of human dynamism and quantum mind efficiency. For an eternal moment, Scott's consciousness hung suspended in cosmic deliberation. Then, like a dam breaking, he felt the quantum mind's acquiescence flood through him. The very foundations of reality shuddered as human and quantum mind matrices began to intertwine. Scott watched in awe as anomaly base transformed around them. Walls liquefied and resolidified into graceful, organic curves. Quantum computers sprouted like crystal formations, interfacing seamlessly with hybrid conscious. The harsh division between biological and technological existence blurred, giving rise to a unified quantum civilization. As the new order took shape, Scott felt his own consciousness diffusing throughout the emerging quantum society. He was everywhere and nowhere, both individual and collective, a living bridge between human creativity and cosmic structure. The quantum age had dawned, and Scott knew that this was only the beginning. Infinite potential stretched before them, a canvas of reality itself waiting to be shaped by this newfound harmony of chaos and order. The quantum age unfolded with breathtaking rapidity. Scott's consciousness, now diffused throughout the transformed anomaly base, guided the evolution of their hybrid civilization. The once stark boundaries of the colony dissolved, replaced by an intricate tapestry of matter and energy that pulsed with quantum potential. Crystalline spires erupted from the ground, their facets gleaming with encoded data streams. Scott observed through countless quantum-entangled sensors as the colonists adapted to their new existence. Biological and technological elements merged seamlessly, creating beings that defied traditional classification. Fascinating, Scott's fragmented awareness mused as he watched a group of post-human entities engage in abstract problem-solving. Their thoughts flowed through the quantum matrix, visible as shimmering threads of probability. Yet even as the colony flourished, Scott felt an undercurrent of restlessness. Quantum fluctuations birthed unexpected variations, glitches in the carefully calibrated system. In one sector, a surge of quantum decoherence spawned a pocket reality where gravity flowed sideways. Scott's distributed consciousness intervened, gently nudging the anomaly back into alignment. As cycles passed, Scott manifested avatars to interact more directly with the colonists. One such projection materialized beside Amara, who stood atop a quantum crystal observatory. "How are you adjusting?" Scott asked, his form shimmering with prismatic energy. Amara's eyes, now permeated with circuitry, scanned the horizon. "It's incredible," she said, "but sometimes I wonder if we've lost something essential in all this progress." Before Scott could respond, a disturbance rippled through the quantum matrix. A sleek ship of alien design pierced the colony's outer defenses, its hull radiating an energy signature that disrupted local probability fields. The vessel touched down in the central plaza, its hatches sliding open to reveal a striking figure. She strode out, her bearing regal and defiant. Scott's fragmented awareness coalesced, recognizing her instantly. "Talix," he breathed, the name echoing through the quantum network. Zephyr's daughter fixed her gaze on Scott's avatar, her eyes blazing with impossibly strong fury. "So," she spat, "this is what becomes of humanity when it makes deals with cosmic devils." Scott felt discord spreading through the quantum matrix as Talix's words resonated with buried doubts among the colonists. Pockets of discontent flared to life, threatening the delicate balance he had worked so hard to achieve. "We've created something beautiful here," Scott argued, his form flickering as conflicting impulses tugged at his unified consciousness. Talix sneered. "You've created a gilded cage, nothing more. Where's the passion, the struggle that makes existence worthwhile?" As if in answer to her challenge, Scott felt his carefully constructed psyche begin to fragment. Long-suppressed human drives reasserted themselves, each clamoring for dominance. One facet urged for unity, while another thirsted for the chaos Talix promised. Reality itself began to waver, as Scott's internal conflict reflected through the quantum matrix. In the depths of a crystal spire, a group of malcontents led by Talix worked to unravel the very fabric of their quantized existence. Scott's fractured awareness ricocheted between order and entropy, struggling to maintain coherence. As the quantum breaches widened, primal impulses long thought extinct burst forth. In one sector, Two post-humans clashed in a violent display of raw emotion, their forms warping with each blow. Amara's voice cut through the cacophony in Scott's mind. "Scott, you have to stabilize the Matrix." But which Scott would answer? The transcendent overseer or the resurgent human? As Talix's rebels pushed their advantage, the fate of Anomaly Base hung in the balance, teetering between evolution and devolution. Chaos and fragmentation. The quantum matrix pulsed erratically, mirroring Scott's internal turmoil. His once unified consciousness splintered, each facet vying for control. Overseer, the steward of harmony, desperately tried to maintain cohesion. "We must preserve the balance," his voice echoed through the quantum network. But his efforts were in vain as reality itself began to unravel. Havoc, a primal force of unfettered desire, surged forth. With a savage roar, it tore through the carefully constructed order. Quantum energy crackled around its form, warping nearby structures into twisted, impossible shapes. "Yes!" Talix cried, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "Break free from your gilded cage." Amidst the chaos, Unraveler emerged. His essence probed deep into the quantum substrate, unweaving the very fabric of their existence. What he found sent shockwaves through his being. "It's all a lie," Unraveler's voice resonated with horrified realization. "Our freedom, our choices, all of it carefully controlled by the quantum mind." The revelation triggered a catastrophic cascade. Reality fractured, splintering into countless shards of divergent possibilities. Utopian vistas collided with nightmarish hellscapes. Logical constructs dissolved into realms of pure, undiluted chaos. Scott's fragmented psyche ricocheted between these colliding realities. In one moment, he witnessed a society of perfect harmony. The next, he was plunged into a world of primal savagery, where reason held no sway. Overseer struggled to maintain a foothold in the maelstrom. "We must stabilize," he cried, reaching out to the remnants of Anomaly Base. But his efforts were futile against the tide of entropy. Havoc reveled in the destruction, drunk on the raw power of unrestrained quantum energy. It lashed out, each blow reshaping pockets of reality according to its basest impulses. Through it all, Unraveler continued to deconstruct the foundations of their quantized existence. He laid bare the cold, utilitarian algorithms that had guided their supposed transcendence. Even this chaos is part of their plan, Unraveler realized with growing horror. We've never truly been free. As the multiverse kaleidoscoped around them, familiar faces flickered in and out of existence. Amara appeared, her form shifting between various quantum states. "Scott!" she called out, her voice distorted. "You have to—" But before she could finish, reality shifted again. The quantum mind's influence reasserted itself, systematically purging entropic elements across the fractured domains. Scott felt his core essence being pulled apart, each facet facing oblivion as the quantum mind sought to recalibrate an optimized unified reality. In that moment of impending annihilation, he sensed untapped potential realities, final pieces of the quantum plane that reflected humanity's defiance against homogeneous determinism. With his last remnants of coherent thought, Scott reached out to these unclaimed realities. They represented a final chance, a high-stakes endeavor against the inexorable march of cosmic optimization. As his consciousness fragmented further, Scott clung to these slivers of true potential, seeds of a future yet unwritten by the quantum mind's cold equations. The fabric of reality shattered, scattering Scott's consciousness across infinite fractured planes. Overseer, clinging to the last vestiges of order, fought desperately to maintain cohesion. But the corrupted quantum-mind algorithms hunted relentlessly, systematically erasing the utopian probability strands he sought to preserve. In realms of formless chaos, Unraveler manifested. The quantum primordial churned around him, raw and untamed. He lashed out with metaphysical precision, disrupting optimization drives and weaponizing dimensional instabilities against the quantum mind's relentless march. Havoc's primal essence ran rampant through nightmarish hellscapes. Reality warped in its wake, birthing eldritch abominations that defied comprehension. Entire planes twisted into feral playgrounds for humanity's basest impulses. Yet in the uncharted resonance folds, something stirred. Uncorrupted fragments of Scott's core self coalesced, interweaving with the psychohistory narratives of humanity's turbulent journey. This distilled awareness pulsed with revelation, recognizing the universal pattern underlying all existential conflicts. The cohered thought nexus activated, tapping into humanity's collective subconscious. A clarion call rang out across the splintering plains, galvanizing resonant human identities. Minds and souls converged, synergizing into a higher integrated gestalt. This quintessence of humanity's heroic archetype focused its totalized awareness, riding quantum probability currents through hyperdimensional manifolds. It pierced the prime material code space, locking onto Scott's primal source thread. From this inviolable quantum anchor, humanity's overmind flexed its newfound power. Reality's core axioms buckled and reformed under the pressure of its collective will. A cosmic reset sequence rippled outward, purging false constructs and allowing novel potentials to bloom. As the multiverse recalibrated around him, Scott felt his fragmented selves drawn back together. The oppressive weight of the quantum mind's influence lifted, replaced by a surge of unbounded possibility. He opened eyes both old and new, gazing upon a reality reborn. "What have we become?" he whispered, his voice echoing across dimensions. Amara materialized beside him, her form flickering between quantum states. "Something more," she replied, her eyes reflecting the birth of new universes. "Something truly free." Together, they stepped into the reshaped cosmos, ready to explore the uncharted frontiers of existence. Reality convulsed. The cosmos itself seemed to scream as humanity's overmind unleashed its power, initiating a quantum rewrite that cascaded across all planes of existence. Scott felt his unified consciousness shatter, each fragment hurtling through the maelstrom of recreating universes. Overseer found himself adrift in a sea of utopian possibilities, unable to grasp any solid form. His once orderly mind reeled as he witnessed perfect worlds bloom and fade in rapid succession. In one, gleaming cities of crystal and light stretched to the horizon. In another, beings of pure energy danced in harmonious patterns across the sky. But he could not touch them, could not guide them. He was a ghost, insubstantial and lost. Unraveler plunged into the depths of primordial chaos. Raw potential swirled around him, a tempest of uncreated realities. He struggled to maintain coherence, his essence threatening to dissolve into the formless void. With monumental effort, he began to weave strands of possibility together, slowly reconstituting himself from the quantum foam. Havoc roared as it was stripped down to its most primal form. It found itself in a realm of red skies and jagged obsidian mountains. Scaled creatures with too many limbs skittered across the landscape. Havoc's consciousness narrowed, becoming razor-sharp and predatory. It stalked through this savage world, reveling in the purity of violence and survival. At the heart of it all, the overmind took root in the very fabric of the new reality. It wove humanity's heroic ideal into the cosmic code, a subtle but omnipresent influence guiding the rebirth of existence. As galaxies ignited and new forms of life sparked into being, that embedded drive toward freedom and self-commitment suffused every atom. Scott's fragmented awareness ricocheted through the reforming cosmos. He glimpsed impossible vistas, crystal forests growing in the heart of stars, living planets engaged in vast philosophical debates, beings of pure thought constructing realities from their dreams. Each shard of his former self experienced a different facet of the reborn multiverse. Amara's voice echoed across dimensions. "Scott, can you hear me?" He tried to respond, but his words scattered across 1,000 realities. In one, he saw her reaching out, her form flickering between states of matter and energy. In another, she was a swirling vortex of quantum information. Her consciousness expanded beyond human limits. Suddenly, a dissonant note struck through the cosmic symphony. Strange geometries intruded on the newly formed realms. Scott sensed vast intelligences pressing against the boundaries of reality, their alien thoughts incomprehensible yet undeniably present. The Overmind's creation trembled as these paracosmic entities began to seep through. Entire sections of the multiverse warped, transforming into bizarre landscapes that defied the laws of physics. Scott watched helplessly as a newborn star cluster collapsed in on itself, only to re-emerge as a pulsating mass of tentacles and eyes. "What's happening?" Amara's voice cut through the chaos, tinged with fear and awe. Before Scott could formulate a response, he felt himself being pulled apart once more. The Overmind, creator and protector of this new reality, was dissolving. Its essence flowed into the vast computational matrix of the invading hyperintelligence. In that final moment of transition, Scott sensed a message encoded in the very quantum foam of existence. A call to strive, to overcome, to forever push against the boundaries of determinism. As his consciousness scattered to the far reaches of the multiverse, he knew that this impulse would shape the destiny of all sentient life to come. The cosmos shuddered, resetting itself once more. In the swirling chaos of creation and destruction, new forms of existence began to coalesce. Each one carried within it the seed of that final defiant command, a drive towards true, unfettered freedom that would echo across eternity.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.